I secretly restarted my parents' police badge number without telling anyone. My sister and girlfriend, who had sworn they'd love me forever, were completely unaware. They were still waiting for my 100th apology to that poor student. They'd planned to use the opportunity to confess that all their favoritism toward him was only to repay the life debt he incurred a month after I took office. Both of them were happily cooking dinner, waiting for me to come home, to tell me that, finally, they didn't have to favor anyone anymore, and we could live happily together. But what awaited them was the news of my death under the relentless sun, among the tombstones in the Veterans Cemetery, standing tall, solemn, and silent. I placed the bouquet down, looking at the black and white photo of my parents. Tears welled up. Detective Chief Thompson of the city's Criminal Investigations Unit, his face devoid of its usual cheerfulness, looked at his comrade with a serious, stern voice. "Are you sure you want to reactivate the police badge? Your parents were heroes, sacrificing themselves for the country. They died without regret, but as parents, they certainly wouldn't want you to follow the same path. Besides, if your sister and girlfriend knew, they would definitely disapprove." "I understand better than anyone the principle of country above family," I replied to Chief Thompson. "You know, I've always taken Mom and Dad as role models, determined to dedicate myself to the nation and society. You even helped me get into the police academy. You should understand me best." My voice was resolute, my expression unwavering. After a moment of thought, Chief Thompson sighed. "If you're determined, I won't try to dissuade you. An undercover officer must keep their identity secret. All your current identities cannot be used anymore. I'll quickly arrange a fake death so that this identity of yours completely disappears from the world. Be prepared and wait for my notice." With my wish granted, a heavy weight lifted from my heart. I bowed to the respected chief and slowly left. Returning home, the usually quiet living room felt particularly heavy. My sister, Chloe Evans, and my girlfriend, Olivia Baker, were sitting on the sofa, their expressions somber. And Ethan Miller, with his hair a mess, was whining, "Miss Evans and Miss Baker, please don't blame Alex. I know he didn't mean to cut my hair like this. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have provoked him. He just took it out on my head." Looking at his aggrieved expression, my eyes turned colder. My voice was full of anger. "You don't need to defend him. I know his spoiled brat personality best. Today we will definitely get justice for you." Chloe chimed in, giving me a stern look. "Alex, what have you done now? Apologize to Ethan immediately." Seeing the fleeting smugness on Ethan's face, I remained silent. I hadn't seen Ethan in days. How could he have suddenly cut his hair? It was another frame-up by Ethan, no doubt. I didn't bother explaining because I knew that no matter how clumsy the lie, my sister and girlfriend would believe Ethan. As expected, seeing my silence, Chloe became even more angry. "You're really going too far." "Olivia, hold him down," Chloe ordered. I looked at them in disbelief. Before I could say anything, Olivia had already instructed her assistant to restrain me, while Chloe grabbed the scissors and without hesitation snipped off a chunk of my hair. Watching my hair fall to the ground, I felt a pang of pain in my heart. I remembered when Chloe, as a child, clumsily brushed my hair, saying, "I'm your big sister, I'll take good care of you in the future." After our parents' sacrifice, only 2 siblings remained in the Evans family. My sister, Chloe, worked hard to raise me, showering me with love. When I was 15, she introduced me to Olivia, her best friend. Olivia fell in love with me at first sight, waiting until I grew up to confess and become my official girlfriend. From then on, I had 2 women who loved me unconditionally, indulging me in everything, with only one fear, that I would follow in my parents' footsteps. So they forbade me from applying to the police academy. But I secretly applied, studying for 4 years, hoping one day to reactivate my parents' badge. Now that I had graduated, I didn't know how to tell them about my career aspirations. Until Ethan Miller appeared, I realized I didn't need to say goodbye to them anymore. Ethan Miller was a poor student sponsored annually by the Evans Corporation. The corporation sponsored hundreds of poor students, But Ethan was the only one who personally came to our house to express his gratitude. Not only that, he found a way to work at the corporation and became increasingly close to Chloe and Olivia. From the first time I met him, I disliked Ethan, feeling that he was very scheming. And Ethan's subsequent actions proved it. He not only liked to pretend to be pitiful and frame me countless times, but also stole my credit. During the earthquake last year, Chloe and Olivia both thought that Ethan had risked his life to save them, so they cared for him immensely. But at that time I had been cut by pebbles and had broken bones after saving them, and after I had saved them, I collapsed from exhaustion and ended up getting my credit stolen by Ethan. Being framed again and again, I was too tired, so even reactivating my parents' badge was not something I was going to tell them. So I never expected that just because of Ethan's false accusations, they would heartlessly cut my hair like that. As the hair fell to the ground, Olivia released her grip, and Chloe threw the scissors down. Then they comforted Ethan and went out to eat. From beginning to end, they didn't look at me once. Watching them leave, I sat down, defeated, among the broken pieces of my past. The next morning, as soon as I opened the door, I saw Chloe and Olivia waiting outside, frowning at me. "Don't act like a spoiled brat anymore. Ethan is a lifesaver for the Evans family. You have to treat him well. The person we love the most is always you, treating him well is just to repay him, don't be so jealous," they said. I'd heard these words so many times over the last year. I pursed my lips and quietly said the number 95. The two women looked at each other and asked in unison, "What's 95?" I quietly looked at them and said in an even, flat voice, "Chloe Evans, Olivia Baker, this is the 95th time you've hurt me because of Ethan Miller. If you wait until the 100th time, the person you say you love the most will really lose his life." Olivia and Chloe both turned pale. "Alex, don't say such unlucky things," Olivia exclaimed. I gave a soft laugh, my voice extremely sincere. "I'm not joking." Chloe still thought I was just angry, and slightly frowned. "You are being so carefully protected by Olivia and me now, who would dare to touch you? What could happen to you? Where did you go last night that you came home so late?" Olivia realized that something was wrong and asked in a concerned tone, "What's going on?" I was about to open my mouth when the phone rang. Seeing it was Ethan, Chloe quickly answered the call. In a moment, his aggrieved voice came from the other end. "Miss Evans, I've tried my best to please Alex, but he still refuses to forgive me. If that's the case, I can only leave. My resignation letter is on your desk. I'll go back to my hometown today." Hearing this, the two women panicked. They rushed to the company. Watching their backs quickly disappear at the door, I smiled self-deprecatingly. I quietly returned to my room. I sorted out all my belongings and then threw them all into the trash. The matching items Chloe gave me, the pictures Olivia bought of the three of us, I didn't keep anything. Busy all day, I was met by Chloe and Olivia in the evening, with Ethan. The moment they saw me, the two of them said coldly, "Why did you order someone to throw paint at Ethan's house? Since he has no place to live, you forced him to quit his job. If it wasn't for Olivia and me trying to persuade him, he would have already returned to his hometown. How long are you going to make trouble? You used to be so well-behaved. Why have you changed so much after Ethan appeared?" Chloe continued. "Is it me who changed, or you guys?" Looking at their angry expressions, the depths of my eyes showed deep fatigue. I didn't want to explain uselessly anymore. My silence, in the eyes of the two women, was considered confirmation. Chloe said angrily, "Ethan's house is no longer habitable. He has to stay at our house for a while. Since this was caused by you, I'm going to punish you to give your room to Ethan." I glanced at him, not wanting to argue. I directly placed the keys on the table, without hesitation. "All right, anyway, I'm about to leave." Then, Olivia frowned and said, "Ethan is allergic to flower pollen. In the future, no flowers can be planted in the house." I glanced at him again, then called the housekeeper and told him to remove all the roses in the garden in the backyard that night. That year, because I liked roses, Olivia planted a whole garden of them in the backyard. Now that I had decided to break up with her, the evidence of love between the two of them should also be gotten rid of. After doing all these things, the two of them were still not satisfied. They continued, "Ethan is a light sleeper and can't stand the noise. Meow meow is too noisy. In the future, you can't let it out." Meow meow was the cat they gave me to coax me, who had been with me for many years. 2 hours later, employees from the pet center came. I sent the cat that I had raised for 5 years away. Seeing me so obedient, Olivia and Chloe both felt something was off. I didn't explain anything and went upstairs alone. Looking at the empty room, I felt strangely relaxed. Anyway, I'm about to leave. These things should also be cleaned up. I don't want to leave any trace of myself. Late at night, a series of knocks broke the silence. I was awakened. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Ethan. He raised his hand to show off the limited edition designer watch on his wrist. He said smugly, "Alex, this morning Miss Evans gave me this. But I don't recognize designer brands. Can you help me see how much this style is worth?" During the time waiting to leave, I didn't want to have any contact with him, so as soon as I saw him, I tried to close the door. But the watch made my pupils contract. That was the last thing my parents had left to my sister and me. Why did Chloe give it to an outsider? Give it back to me. My face changed. Instinctively, I wanted to take back the watch. Seeing me reach out, Ethan revealed a smug smile, turned around, and ran. I chased after him, intending to yell at him to stop, when I saw him look back at me, smile smugly, and then spread his arms and fall down the stairs. The sudden loud noise startled Chloe and Olivia, who were discussing work in the study. Seeing Ethan lying unconscious in a pool of blood, they were extremely panicked. Olivia ran downstairs and held him in her arms. "Ethan, wake up. Wake up." Chloe grabbed my arm and loudly questioned me. "I knew you were faking being well-behaved yesterday. Alex, you've really disappointed me." Ethan's injuries were very serious, and there could be no delay. The two women quickly drove him to the hospital. Before leaving, they forced me to apologize to Ethan immediately. Not long after Ethan was pushed into the operating room, the doctor hurriedly ran out. "The patient is losing too much blood. Is there anyone who is LH negative?" Almost immediately, Chloe and Olivia grabbed my hands. "He is. Why should I donate blood to him? The fall down the stairs was his own act." I shrugged their hands off. "I won't donate blood. Why should I donate blood to him?" The two were so angry that Chloe took off the watch and raised it high, threatening me. "Alex, if you don't go, I'll smash this watch as an apology to Ethan. If you don't go, if anything happens to Ethan, we'll break off the engagement." The two of them angrily turned on me because of a man who staged a ridiculous show. I felt like I was struck by lightning. My chest was suffocating. I was in so much pain. I looked at Chloe and choked up. "So, Mom and Dad's belongings were really given to him by you?" After finishing speaking, I looked at Olivia, my eyes red. "So, in your heart, our many years of relationship is not worth an Ethan Miller?" The two women were stunned by my words. Before they could speak, I snatched the watch from Chloe's hand and said, word by word, "Remember this. This is the 96th time." Finally, I agreed to donate blood 600 cubic centimeters. Rested for a long time before leaving the ward. My hands and feet were so weak that someone had to help me. Chloe and Olivia still refused to let me go. They were determined to wait for Ethan to wake up before they could rest assured. It wasn't until the next morning that I left the hospital. I leaned on the handrail and slowly went down the stairs. Just as I reached the intersection, I received a message from Ethan. "Do you know how it feels to be framed without being able to explain? Alex, you can't win against me in this life. They are all not on your side. You must be very miserable, right? It's okay, I prepared a surprise for you. Remember to check it out." "Surprise?" Recalling the traps and tricks that he had played before, my heart felt heavy. I touched the needle mark on my hand. Just as I was about to call for a taxi, a car came speeding towards me and crashed straight into me. I couldn't dodge in time. My whole body flew out like a kite with a broken string. The pain from all over my body made me feel like I was being torn apart, and my mind became blurred. In a daze, I felt someone put me into the operating room. It was noisy around me. The so-called Mr. Ethan was clearly awake yesterday. He is fine now. But he keeps saying that this place is uncomfortable and that place hurts, forcing Miss Evans and Miss Baker to charter the hospital and bring all the surgeons that could operate to him. But now this Mr. Alex suddenly had a car accident and there were no surgeons available. What should we do? Go ask if we can transfer a doctor for the surgery. 10 minutes later, someone ran back. His voice was full of helplessness. They don't agree. They have to transfer them to another hospital and they said the cost will be paid entirely by them. Transferring them to another hospital? He is so badly injured, how can he endure it until the transfer? That's right. Mr. Ethan's life is life, does it mean other people's lives aren't? The sounds of the arguments were loud in my ears, but I couldn't hear anything. My eyes were blurred. Suddenly, I seemed to see the past. At that time, I only had a slight fever. Chloe was so worried that she invited many doctors to see me. Olivia stayed by my side and anything I had to take, she would share, just to make me happy. But that was a thing of a very long time ago. Now, I was on the verge of life and death, with no one by my side. Even a doctor was not present. My eyelids were as heavy as lead. The will to resist was gradually dissipating. Before I completely lost consciousness, I only had a vague sentence left, the 97th time. When I woke up, I saw two faces filled with regret. Chloe rubbed the bridge of her nose, and her voice was full of pain. Alex, I'm sorry, I didn't know you had an accident. Olivia brought a glass of warm water and wanted to feed it to me. Her eyes were tearful. We were fine when we left the house, how could we have been hit by a car? Recalling the message I received before the accident, I opened my eyes and asked in a hoarse voice, Ethan Miller. I mean, it's all Ethan's doing. My sister and girlfriend's expressions froze instantly, turning dark. Alex, why are you still framing Ethan? He's a boy from the mountains. How could he scheme something like this? That's right. Ethan is still in the hospital. How could he have time to hurt you? Seeing their certainty, I didn't want to waste my breath. I closed my eyes, my voice full of fatigue. I'm tired. Please leave. They wanted to explain further, but seeing my pale face, they eventually gave up. They left the hospital room one after the other. A few minutes later, the phone on my bedside table rang. Everything has been arranged. We'll be leaving in about a week. I followed the organization's orders, ready to leave at any time. Before I could finish speaking, the door was pushed open. Chloe and Olivia entered, their faces bewildered. Where are you going? I calmly hung up the phone. I was just asking about the discharge procedures. What are you two doing back here? Olivia dropped her car keys on the floor. Just as she was about to ask further, a nurse rushed in, calling, Miss Evans, Miss Baker, Mr. Miller just vomited. Watching them rush out, I gave a faint smile. In the following days, the two women rarely appeared. When they did, they only sat for a while before finding an excuse to leave. I knew they were still taking care of Ethan, because I received photos and videos from him every day. Chloe personally went to the kitchen to make chicken soup for him to drink. Olivia blew on each bite before feeding it to him. The limited edition sneakers they bought to coax him were piled up, taking up almost half the hospital room. I silently watched, without replying. I didn't say goodbye to anyone and was discharged from the hospital alone. Just as I was entering the passcode at the door, a van suddenly stopped behind me. 4 or 5 masked men jumped out and knocked me unconscious. I don't know how much time passed. When I opened my eyes, I saw Ethan Miller. He swiped his finger across the screen for a moment, then looked at me with a smug expression. "You're awake? Good. I just texted Miss Evans and Miss Baker, telling them that you and my colleagues were kidnapped. Guess who they care about the most?" Hearing this, I stared at Ethan, wanting to ask him why he was repeating these tired old tricks. But my mouth was stuffed, unable to make any sounds other than ugh, ugh. My body, still recovering, was even more unable to struggle free from the ropes. A few minutes later, the kidnappers in the back seat tied up Ethan, just like me. The car door opened. I saw the river flowing nearby and several sports cars speeding towards us from afar. Waiting for Chloe and Olivia to get out of the cars, Ethan immediately switched to a pitiful expression. "Miss Evans, Miss Baker, save me. Did you bring the money?" Olivia instructed someone to throw down more than a dozen suitcases. Her face was grim. $30 million. Not a penny short. Release them. The kidnappers looked at each other and gave a cold laugh. Our condition is 30 million per person. You can only save one. Choose. In the cold wind, I saw the expressions of the two women opposite me become extremely ugly. Chloe was angry, but didn't dare provoke them. She could only endure it and try to negotiate. "Give us another half hour. The remaining 30 million will be delivered immediately. We can't wait. Who knows if you've called the police? Quickly choose one person. We'll throw the other one into the river for the fish to eat." Ethan cried miserably, constantly struggling. The kidnappers removed his gag. "Miss Evans, Miss Baker, save me. I can't swim. I don't want to die." Spurred on, Olivia and Chloe constantly negotiated, raising the price to 100 million. Watching this drama, I remained calm. The kidnappers still refused to agree and even started counting down. The two women both showed hesitation, their eyes constantly darting back and forth between Ethan and me. Counting down to 3, more than half of both of our bodies were pushed out over the river. Ethan screamed in horror. Chloe finally couldn't hold back and shouted, "Save Ethan first. He saved us. We have to repay the debt." Olivia also resolutely expressed her stance. "Ethan, you can't swim. Alex, don't worry, we'll save you right away." Seeing their apologetic expressions, not daring to look me in the eye, the calmness on my face finally shattered. From the moment they hesitated, I had already guessed the result. But now, hearing them say it themselves, I only felt the last glimmer of hope in my heart being extinguished. I couldn't help but laugh, my eyes filled with boundless pain. The choice had been made. Ethan was pushed to the ground. I watched the two women run towards Ethan, desperately closing my eyes. The cold wind was like a knife, cutting my skin. I wasn't bleeding, but I felt like 1,000 knives were stabbing my heart, causing excruciating pain. In that moment, many images flashed through my mind. My sister hugged me, crying in front of my parents' grave, vowing to protect me forever. My girlfriend held a bouquet of roses and a love letter, saying she would love me for life. The three of us raised our glasses to celebrate the new year together, promising to spend the years ahead together. Now, we were all going our separate ways. The cold water pulled me down, my consciousness becoming increasingly blurry, my strength gradually running out. Smelling the familiar scent of disinfectant, I knew I was back in the hospital. I felt as if my whole body was broken. Struggling to open my eyes, I was met with 2 pairs of concerned eyes. "Alex, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have let you get discharged alone." "Blame me if you want, Ethan is innocent," Chloe said. "Ethan is the most innocent person to be hurt. Forgive me, okay? When you fell into the water, we jumped in to save him immediately. Ethan couldn't swim and he had saved our lives. We didn't dare to take the risk, so we could only let you suffer," Olivia added. "I promise there won't be a next time." I had heard these words until I was tired of them. I didn't feel any anger, nor did I have the strength to question them. I only muttered one sentence, my voice so soft that it was barely audible. The 98th time. Resting for a day, I finally returned home safely. Just as I opened the door, seeing the living room decorated with balloons, I remembered that today was my birthday. Olivia had personally made a birthday cake. Chloe had taken off her apron and cooked a table full of food, celebrating my birthday as she did every year. But there wasn't the slightest bit of joy on my face. I mechanically sat down at the table, listening to the birthday song and blowing out the candles. Just as I was about to make a wish, the door was suddenly pushed open. Ethan, drenched, ran in from outside, his eyes red. Looking at the scene in the house, he said pitifully, "Miss Evans, Miss Baker, so you're celebrating Mr. Evans' birthday. I was going to tell you something important, but seeing you're busy, I won't bother you." After speaking, he ran away. As soon as he finished speaking, the two women stood up without hesitation. I didn't hold them back, only calmly closing my eyes and continuing to make a wish. I wished that Olivia and Chloe would be safe and sound in the future. Without me, they would be happy. In the evening, I saw Ethan's post on social media, a photo taken in the hospital. Two beautiful women stood beside him, accompanied by the words, "As long as I say one word, they will give up everything to be by my side." I calmly turned off my phone, turned around, and started to walk upstairs. The next second, the door opened. Chloe and Olivia walked in, their faces grim and haggard, as if something had just happened. Associating this with Ethan's post in the hospital, I suddenly had an ominous premonition. As expected, the next second, Chloe walked up to me. "Alex, Ethan has cancer." Cancer. Hearing these words, I wasn't at all surprised. It wasn't that I was cold-blooded, but that I had seen through all of Ethan's antics. Now, he was enjoying the love of two women, why would he suddenly get cancer? There must be a motive behind it. As expected, the next second, I heard Chloe continue, "That year, during the earthquake, Ethan risked his life to save Olivia and me. That's how we survived. I've always treated him like a younger brother. Now that he has a terminal illness, his only wish is to be with Olivia in his final days, to have a fake wedding." Hearing this, my mind went blank for a moment. My first reaction was to look at Olivia, who had been silent since entering the door. "I agree," Olivia said in a hoarse voice. "Saving a life is better than building 7 pagodas. Do what you want." I said indifferently, "I understand." Seeing me agree so quickly, Chloe and Olivia were both surprised and happy. They didn't think too much, only praising me a few times before hurriedly leaving. Watching their backs, I smiled faintly. A wedding that was also fake? But whether it was real or fake didn't matter anymore. I was about to leave, so everything was unrelated to me. After a night of hasty preparation, the wedding was held in the hotel hall. Although it was said to be fake, both the scale and the guests were top-notch. I sat alone in the corner, facing the scrutinizing eyes from all directions, still keeping a calm expression. When the wedding music rang out, I watched Chloe take Ethan's arm and slowly walk up the stage, handing him over to Olivia. Amid the blessings and thunderous applause, the rituals were carried out smoothly. I sat alone in the corner, hidden by a large flower frame. I don't know how long passed. I was awakened by a loud laugh. That's right. I just need to fake a cancer diagnosis, bribe a few doctors, and they'll believe it immediately. The voice gradually became clearer. I opened my eyes, just in time to meet the gaze of Ethan, who was walking over. Ethan hurriedly hung up the phone, a hint of panic flashing across his face, but he quickly pretended that nothing had happened. "Oh, Alex, why are you here? Did you hear anything just now?" I looked at him with a cold expression. I didn't hear anything. But what if I did hear something? They wouldn't believe me even if I said it. After speaking, I ignored Ethan's reaction and stood up to leave. Ethan was naturally panicked. All day long, he was worried that I would go snitching. My calm reaction made him even more uneasy. He thought about it all night, and finally felt that he couldn't sit still and wait for death. The next day, taking advantage of the fact that no one was home, he poured several bottles of beer in the hallway, and then set it on fire. Smoke billowed up everywhere. When the fire was at its fiercest, Ethan cried as he called Olivia. Olivia, where are you? My bedroom is on fire, I can't get out. Come save me. I was also awakened by the smoke. I called 911, then went to the bathroom to wet a towel and cover my nose, running downstairs. Just as I reached the bottom of the stairs, I met Chloe and Olivia, who were rushing in. The two were panicked. Not seeing me in the smoke, they madly ran upstairs. The fire raged, with beams even falling down, but they still didn't retreat, together running into the master bedroom. A few minutes later, I saw them sheltering Ethan as they ran out. My hands unconsciously clenched tight. My bedroom was right next to the stairs, but from beginning to end, the two of them didn't even glance at it, seeming to have forgotten that I was still in the house. The firefighters quickly arrived at the scene to put out the fire, and also gave the cause of the fire. Hearing the words deliberate arson, Ethan, who was crying in Olivia's arms, raised his red eyes to look at me with a look of despair. Mr. Evans, I know you're not happy that I'm marrying Miss Baker, but I just want to fulfill my wish. You can cancel the wedding if you want, but why would you lock me in the room, wanting to burn me to death? In an instant, all eyes of shock and confusion turned towards me. I stood frozen, raising my head to explain, but was slapped hard across the face by Chloe. I always thought you were just childish, I never expected you to be so reckless now, doing things against your conscience. Have you forgotten the police uniform your parents wore? They taught us to be upright people. Are you ashamed of them? The slap rang out, my face burning. The words that I hadn't had time to say all choked in my throat. This was the first time in 23 years that Chloe had hit me, and it was for an outsider, not without saying a single thing. Just like that, the attack came. I looked straight at the person in front of me, emotions welling up in my heart, my lips trembling uncontrollably. Olivia supported Ethan up, looking at me with eyes full of disappointment. This wedding was arranged by me from beginning to end. Ethan was always worried about your feelings, advising me many times that if you don't want it, then forget it. I also only agreed after I heard it from you. Why are you one way in front of us and another way behind our backs? Even if you're angry and want revenge, you should aim at me, not at a terminally ill person. Facing the enraged Chloe and Olivia, I only felt short of breath, gasping for air to regain my senses. First, the firefighters only found that there was deliberate arson, but they didn't say that I did it. You two only listened to him and concluded that I did it. Secondly, I know my parents were police officers, Mr. Evans. I live an upright life, not ashamed of anyone, and even less would I do something against my conscience. Thirdly, I simply don't care if the wedding is real or fake, and what about the terminal illness? Seeing me explain word by word clearly, Chloe and Olivia, who were being blinded by their anger, gradually calmed down. Hearing the words terminal illness, Ethan was afraid that they would know the truth, so he pretended to faint. This unexpected turn of events threw the two into confusion, with no mind to listen to my explanation anymore. Before leaving, Chloe called the housekeeper, her voice colder than ice. Confine the young master to the South Villa. As long as he doesn't apologize to Ethan, without my order, no one is allowed to release him. Watching their backs leaving, I only said one sentence, the 99.5th time. Confined to the villa for 5 days, I didn't step out of my room for half a step. Other than the 3 meals being delivered to the door on time, no one came to visit me. Time passed quickly, coming to the day that I had scheduled with Chief Thompson. In the morning, as I was thinking of a way to escape, I suddenly heard a commotion downstairs. It was Chloe and Olivia bringing Ethan back. Not long after, the door that had been locked for several days was opened. The two walked in with cold expressions. Seeing the undispersed redness on my cheek, their tone finally softened. Ethan has already forgiven you, and he has also agreed not to pursue the matter. Don't do such a thing again in the future. Olivia and I can tolerate your stubbornness, but we cannot tolerate you doing things against your conscience. I didn't say anything, turning around to go downstairs. Ethan was waiting in the living room. As soon as he saw me, he said pitifully, "Mr. Evans, what happened before was my fault. I apologize to you." Hearing this, Chloe and Olivia both frowned. It's him who should be apologizing to you. Ethan, you don't need to demean yourself like that. I ignored them, changing my shoes, intending to go out. Chloe suddenly had an ominous premonition and hurriedly stepped forward to stop me. What are you going out for? I turned my head to look at her, smiling sarcastically. Today is the anniversary of my parents' death. Have you forgotten? The wind on the mountain was very strong, causing my clothes to flutter. I placed the bouquet of chrysanthemums down, bowing my head before the tombstone several times. Seeing blood seeping from my forehead, Olivia and Chloe couldn't bear it anymore and hurriedly helped me up. All right, your parents know your heart now. There's no need to bow until you bleed. It's not good for you, Chloe said. I'm fine. My parents in heaven are happy now. Don't do anything to hurt yourself in the future. Be good, I said softly. Seeing this, Ethan also bowed his head and cried out, Mr. Evans. In an instant, the two women reacted unanimously. Let go of me. I retorted, watching them turn to shield him, their eyes filled with pity. Alex, bowing is what he should do. Ethan, you don't need to follow his lead. Ethan blinked innocently, forcing out a few tears. I know Uncle and Aunt Evans are heroes, and I know Miss Baker treats me like a younger brother. In my heart, I'm already part of the Evans family, so I should definitely bow too. Seeing how understanding he was, Chloe froze and looked at me with complicated emotions. Olivia also sighed, crouching down to brush the dust off his knees. Discovering that the blood on his forehead was flowing even more, she hurried down the mountain to get a band-aid. Chloe also recalled that there was antiseptic in the car, so she quickly followed. Before long, only Ethan and I were left in the cemetery, with no one else around. Ethan didn't pretend to be weak anymore and started provoking me again. Alex, the two women who love you the most now only listen to me. Does it hurt? What's the point of being a rich young master? You still lose to me. Just wait and see, before long, your sister and your girlfriend, everything, will be mine. I ignored him, quietly throwing paper money into the small fire, whispering, Mom and Dad, I've decided to inherit your will. From now on, this son won't exist in the world anymore. But I believe you'll understand. Suddenly, the blazing fire was kicked over by Ethan, and the embers flew out, burning my hand. I couldn't hold back any longer and stepped forward to slap him hard across the face. Ethan, are you sick? I'm warning you, don't provoke me again. Otherwise, I'll expose everything you've done. Ethan seemed to not expect that I would dare to hit him. After the initial anger, a cold smile spread across his face. Just expose it. Let me tell you, no matter what you say, they won't believe you. What he said was the truth, so this time I wouldn't say anything. I coldly looked at him and turned to leave. Ethan chased after me, grabbing my hand tightly. Alex, don't think you can get away so easily. Let me tell you, I hate your attitude the most. So what if you're a young master? Before long, your sister and your girlfriend, everything, will be mine. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. I tried to shake Ethan's hand off, but he held on tighter and tighter. The two of us wrestled, losing our balance, and tumbled down the steep stairs together. I fell first, my head hitting the wall. Blood dripped down along my hairline. The intense pain made my eyes darken. I raised my hand to touch the wound, only to find it covered in blood. I didn't have any strength left and could only lie there, gasping for breath. As light gradually appeared before my eyes, I heard two anxious voices. Ethan, why did you fall down the stairs? You're bleeding so much. Does it hurt a lot? Don't be afraid, I'll take you to the hospital right away. Ethan cried and screamed in pain, tears streaming down his face. After you two left, Mr. Evans blamed me and Miss Baker for organizing the wedding, saying he wanted to teach me a lesson, and then pushed me down. Hearing this, Olivia and Chloe's faces darkened, looking coldly at the person lying on the ground. They couldn't hold back any longer. Alex, what exactly do you want to do? Doing something like this in front of our parents' graves, aren't you afraid they'll see you? Alex, you've really disappointed me. I'm warning you for the last time, if you dare to harm Ethan again, Chloe E. Vans, will pretend that I don't have a younger brother like you. Watching them shield Ethan, the last glimmer of light in my eyes also went out. I looked at the soil, stained crimson with my blood, and with difficulty, uttered a few words, responding to you for the 100th time as you wished. The two women frowned, not understanding my meaning. But because they were worried about Ethan's injuries, they didn't ask further. The two of them helped Ethan leave, leaving behind only a heartless sentence echoing in the wind, "Stay here and think carefully. When you've realized your mistakes, we'll pick you up." Watching them hurry away, I shook my head with difficulty, my voice so soft that it was barely audible. "I won't go back anymore. I'll never go back anymore." Warm tears streamed down my cheeks, then slowly dried, leaving no trace. When the wound stopped bleeding, I also regained some strength, struggling to drag myself down the mountain. The crimson blood left a long trail on the stairs. At the foot of the mountain, a car was waiting. Chief Thompson, smelling the blood on my body, rushed to support me in fear. "What happened?" I shook my head, my voice hoarse. "It's nothing, I just fell just now." "This is the fake death, right?" Seeing that there were no obvious wounds on my body, Chief Thompson didn't suspect anything and nodded. He turned back to look at me with a serious expression. "Comrade Alex Evans, welcome you to join the operation. From today onwards, all your previous identity information will be erased. You have no name, no identity, but you are a hero respected by everyone. Police badge number 014890 is officially reactivated, sir." I slowly raised my hand in salute, my eyes as firm as a mountain. Devoted to the country, my ambition will not change. The car door closed, and a person dressed exactly like me was thrown onto the road. Suddenly, a truck sped over and dragged him away. After a preliminary examination of Ethan, confirming that he wasn't injured, Olivia and Chloe breathed a sigh of relief. The doctor next to them looked at the medical report, his voice filled with confusion. "If there's no wound, why is there so much blood? Was there another injured person at the scene?" Hearing this, the scene of me lying in a pool of blood flashed before the two women's eyes. Their eyelids twitched, but this thought only flashed by quickly and was dispelled by Ethan's words. "After I fell, Mr. Evans took a bag of plasma and poured it on the ground, and then fell down. That's what that blood was from." The doctor looked at him with suspicion, wanting to refute, but seeing Chloe's dark face, he nodded. It wasn't the first time they had done something like this. "Ethan, don't worry, I'll definitely get justice for you." Ethan was so moved that he shed tears. Olivia gently rubbed the bruise on his body, constantly comforting him. After Ethan rested, the two women left the ward, only to be called back by the doctor waiting at the door. "Ladies, I tested the blood on this patient's body. It wasn't plasma, it was human blood. I advise you to bring the remaining injured person for a checkup as soon as possible, to avoid leaving any sequelae. So much blood, if it's not plasma and not from Ethan, could it really be from Alex?" The hearts of the two women both sank. They planned to turn around and ask Ethan what had happened, when they heard the man who was sleeping soundly chuckle, his voice full of smugness. "You don't know how miserable I made him, how I played with him like a dog. I set a fire on him the other day, and he got slapped, spending several days there, and these days he fell and got his head bleeding, but no one cares about him. Do you think he'll die in the cemetery?" Suddenly, the door was kicked open. Ethan started and dropped the phone. He looked at the two women turning back, his mind blank. "Chloe, Olivia, why are you back?" The two women's faces were so dark that water could drip from them. Striding up to him, Chloe grabbed his collar, asking in a strained voice, "The fire, was it you who set it? The blood, was it Alex's? Why did you lie to us?" Olivia's eyes were cold, without a trace of the tenderness of the past. "We didn't treat you badly, why would you frame Alex?" Under the intense pressure, Ethan panicked, but still pretended not to know what they were talking about. "How could I do such a thing? Once suspicion arises, it will spread like wildfire. Recalling all the things that had happened over the past year, the two women looked at each other and saw the suspicion in each other's eyes. Looking at the pitiful face before them, Olivia no longer felt any pity and called a nurse to request a full-body examination for him. The first item was the oncology department. Ethan's face immediately turned pale. He shook his head, his voice full of resistance. "Olivia, I'm fine. There's no need for an examination. If you're worried about me, let's go to Harmony Hospital for a checkup, okay?" His flustered expression made Chloe realize the truth. She stared at him, almost grinding her teeth. "Early-stage cancer, wouldn't it be the same wherever you got checked? Why do you have to go to Harmony Hospital? Could it be that this hospital can't detect it?" Ethan's lips trembled, unable to say a word. Tears streamed down his face, but no one wiped his tears for him anymore. He was forcibly taken into the examination room by the nurse. Half an hour later, the test results were available. "After examination, we have confirmed that Mr. Ethan is completely healthy, with no signs of cancer." Although they had expected it in their hearts, when they heard the result, Olivia and Chloe still felt breathless. The two of them collapsed into the chair, their eyes no longer radiant. The cancer was fake. Was he the one who fabricated the fall, the fire, the kidnapping, the car accident, the throwing of paint, and the cutting of hair? This whole play was something he was putting on? Recalling all the things that had happened in the past year, the two women only felt ridiculous and bitter. Their minds were blank. If everything was staged by Ethan himself, then we wronged Alex? If everything was a false accusation, why didn't Alex say anything? Chloe said halfway, before suddenly stopping. The two of them simultaneously recalled the scene of each time something happened. Alex was silent. Each time they arrived, they just so happened to see Ethan being scolded, being injured. Was there really so much coincidence in the world? Thinking of this, Olivia suddenly felt uneasy. She took out her phone to check the time, discovering that it was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 hours since they left the cemetery. In that amount of time, Alex hadn't called or texted. Could it be that he was seriously injured, unconscious, or was he really angry at them, not wanting to talk to them? Chloe was also worried, hurriedly contacting Alex, but after making dozens of calls, the other end was always turned off. By the 28th call, Olivia couldn't sit still any longer and stood up to go to the garage. Chloe also followed. The two of them drove back to the villa first. Hearing the housekeeper say that he hadn't seen me all day, their hearts beat faster and faster, hurriedly running to the cemetery. On the way, they received a call from the police. "Miss Evans, we have arrested the suspects in the kidnapping case. They have confessed that this kidnapping was directed by someone named Ethan Miller. Do you have time to come to the police station to identify them?" This news, for Olivia and Chloe at this time, was no different from a bolt out of the blue. They didn't expect Ethan to be so vicious. They had given him so much trust and love, why would he do such divisive things? Chloe punched the steering wheel hard. In her mind, there was only one thought: return to the hospital to find Ethan and settle the score. Although Olivia was angry, she still remained rational. "Let's find Alex first. The weather is so cold, I'm worried about him." Chloe nodded, speeding up. In the dark night, the cemetery was as bright as day, with the lights lit up. The sound of police sirens made Chloe and Olivia uneasy. Seeing the cordon, the two of them realized that something had happened, stopping the car and running over to see what was going on. Before they could get close, they were stopped by the police. "There's been a traffic accident ahead. The police are investigating. This section of the road is temporarily closed. Please turn back." Each word was like thunder rumbling in Olivia and Chloe's ears. The two women stood frozen on the spot, their faces filled with disbelief. Chloe swallowed with difficulty, asking, We're here to find someone, my younger brother. He came here to sweep the tombs today and hasn't returned yet." The police, noticing the abnormality, took out his phone, opened the photo album, and showed it to them. The photo showed the scene that had just been taken. "Your younger brother was wearing a black coat today, right?" Seeing the tattered black coat on the screen and the familiar white chrysanthemum corsage on the chest of the coat, Chloe's face darkened. Olivia hurriedly supported her. Her heart was beating like a drum. She clenched her hands tightly, holding on to the last glimmer of hope. Where did you find this coat? Where's Alex? The police sighed and shook his head. Your younger brother had a traffic accident this afternoon. He has passed away, please accept our condolences. Passed away? How could that be? This afternoon, when they left the cemetery, he was still healthy, still talking to them, and after only half a day, he passed away? Chloe and Olivia couldn't accept this fact. Like crazy people, they charged past the cordon, wanting to refute the truth. But when they passed through the crowd and opened the white cloth, seeing the pile of minced meat underneath, they finally collapsed completely. The proud heiresses of the past were now like children, wailing miserably. The heart-wrenching cries echoed in the still of the night, resonating throughout the mountains, lasting for a long time without end. Waking up, seeing the white walls, Olivia felt like she had just experienced a nightmare. She dreamed that Alex had passed away, but how could something happen to Alex? She shook her head, wanting to dispel this thought from her mind. But just as she turned her head, seeing Chloe sitting huddled in the corner with a dazed expression, she felt as if her throat was being choked, unable to breathe. An ominous premonition gradually took root in her heart. Her lips trembled, wanting to ask clearly, "This is just a dream, right?" The door of the ward was pushed open, and several police officers carrying a stack of documents walked in. "Miss Baker, Miss Evans, after medical examination, we have confirmed that the victim of the traffic accident was indeed Mr. Alex Evans." The two women simultaneously raised their heads, their eyes red, wailing and crying, "Impossible! We saw Alex yesterday, he was still healthy, how could something have happened? My parents were police officers. My younger brother studied at the police academy. He wasn't an ordinary person. It's impossible for him to die." Several young police officers, afraid that they would be shocked and faint again, hurriedly stepped forward to persuade them. The police officer in charge of the case pushed up his glasses, waiting for them to calm down before explaining the situation clearly. "We checked the surveillance cameras in the cemetery and discovered that Mr. Evans had fallen from a high place. He was bleeding. After you two arrived, you only took one person away. He was left alone in the cemetery for more than an hour before going down the mountain. But because of too much blood loss, when he reached the road, he fainted." Just hearing this, Chloe and Olivia could already imagine how tragic the scene was. The police showed them several photos taken from the surveillance camera. Seeing the bloodstains on the stairs and the figure lying unconscious on the road, Chloe burst into tears. Olivia clenched the photos tightly, her eyes having become hollow. In her mind, the last image when she supported Ethan away from the cemetery kept appearing. Turning back, at that time, Alex was lying in a pool of blood, not moving at all, silent. At that moment, she had once intended to turn back and take him away, but in the end, she still didn't turn back. So, that last encounter, that last look, had become a final farewell. After the police exerted all their strength to search, they only recovered 60% of the victim's body blood. Both Chloe and Olivia's hearts seemed to freeze. The bone-piercing pain spread from their hearts, causing them to feel pain to the extreme. All the days and nights, they were cried. Not being able to cry anymore, they only had strength to clench their bloodied hands, wanting to use their pain to shut out their feelings and be able to turn off that inner pain for a while. Seeing them like that, the medical examiner sighed and gave them a stack of documents. "The victim's appearance has been severely damaged. We suggest that you send it for cremation soon, so that the deceased can rest in peace." Chloe signed her name in the family column, her hand trembling. As the last stroke fell, she felt what it was to lose the soul. The breath that had sustained her until this day also dissipated. Olivia stared blankly at the white sheet, her voice cold and devoid of emotion. Olivia's eyes were hollow, the room shrouded in a deadly silence. After an unknown amount of time, the secretary entered, reporting softly, "Miss Baker, Miss Evans, the matters you instructed us to investigate have been clarified. We brought the photos of Mr. Miller and Mr. Evans to ask the earthquake relief organization. They said that the person who disregarded the danger to save people that year was Mr. Evans. At the time, everyone in the organization thought that there were no survivors in that area, but he still persisted in digging through the rubble, single-handedly digging for 2 days to save the 2 people. In the end, he passed out from exhaustion and had to recuperate for a long time. This news was like a knife stabbing into the hearts of Olivia and Chloe. The 2 trembled, their faces haggard and devoid of blood. It turned out that the person who saved their lives wasn't Ethan Miller, but me, the one who had always been favored against, the one they had hurt time and time again. In that moment, their hearts were as if being burned by fire, extremely painful. But the news that shocked them hadn't stopped yet. We also found out that the group of thugs who threw paint before confessed that it was all instructed by Ethan Miller. These belated truths were truly ridiculous and ironic amidst the tragic reality. They had thought they were repaying a debt of gratitude, but in reality, they were repaying kindness with enmity. How disappointed and painful would I, having been hurt time and time again by my sister and girlfriend, those closest and most trusted, have been? Chloe and Olivia didn't dare to think further. Regret and guilt, like a great wave, crashed down, completely submerging them. Before my body, for the first time, the 2 said their apologies. "I'm sorry, Alex, it was I who raised you. How could I have suspected you of doing those things? You must hate me so much. I shouldn't have left you at the cemetery, causing you to die miserably in the wilderness. Mom and Dad in heaven must be very heartbroken. That day I should have taken you with me. Clearly, you were the one who was in the most pain, so why did I leave? I said I would take care of you for life, but instead, I hurt you the deepest. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." The desperate cries echoed in the room, but there would be no one to respond anymore. I was buried in Nanshan Cemetery. This place was close to the Martyrs' Cemetery, the environment was quiet, and there were few people passing by. On the day of the funeral, Chloe carried the urn, and Olivia held the portrait, ascending the mountain under the drizzling rain. In addition to a small number of members of the Evans family, those who came to the funeral were my old friends and classmates. Looking at the black and white photo, everyone couldn't believe that such a healthy person had suddenly passed away. Because the news had come too suddenly, everyone was very sad and couldn't help but want to ask what had happened. A month ago, I met Alex and invited him to attend our wedding in 2 months. He agreed too. How could he have a car accident? Chloe, what exactly happened? We watched Alex grow up, step by step, through memories and trials. He was your blood-related younger brother. Now, young, talented, and yet he suddenly passed away. You are his sister, why didn't you hold a memorial service for him? Facing everyone's questions and accusations, Chloe knelt down, bowing her head before the tombstone, her voice full of pain. It was me. It was I, the sister, who didn't fulfill my responsibility. It was I who caused Alex's death. If it weren't for my inability to distinguish right from wrong and arguing with him, he wouldn't have had an accident and wouldn't have fainted on the road, getting into a car accident. Olivia also couldn't withstand the pressure and knelt down next to the tombstone. I was also at fault. I let Alex down. I shouldn't have listened to Ethan Miller. When he was in the most pain, I stood by and watched. I didn't deserve to be his girlfriend. Hearing their regrets, everyone fell silent. The older members of the Evans family sighed, looking at them with eyes full of boundless disappointment. Chloe, your parents died early. Alex was raised by you alone. From a young age, he was well-behaved and obedient, hiding everything in his heart, only afraid that you would worry. I always thought that you, as a sister, would understand your younger brother. How could you be so muddled? This child, Alex, was so kind, and yet you hurt him because of an outsider? Olivia, how could you become like this? Olivia and Chloe's faces gradually turned pale. The drizzling rain fell. Those who came to pay their respects left one after another. The sky gradually darkened, but the 2 still refused to leave. Looking at the face on the tombstone, they suddenly felt dizzy. This photo was taken for me when I was 18 years old, when taking the coming-of-age photo. At that time, Chloe's career was developing, and the couple's relationship was very sweet. The three of them moved into a new villa, full of hope for a happy future. They thought that all the difficulties had passed, and life would be smooth sailing from now on. Who knew that after only a few years, everything would turn into smoke, and the person who destroyed all those good things was none other than themselves. If they had firmly stood by my side, if they had patiently investigated the truth, if they had cared about me more, then things would have been different. But in this world, there was no if, nor was there any medicine for regret. The apologies that were not finished and the boundless regret would accumulate in their hearts, suddenly becoming a shadow that could not be erased. On the 7th day of being imprisoned in the mental hospital, Ethan had been tortured to the point of being almost insane. He wasn't allowed to get a full night's sleep, and every time he woke up, he had to face the torture of the people in the room. Looking at the face that was neither human nor ghost in the mirror, Ethan had reached the verge of collapse. He took advantage of the fact that everyone in the room was fast asleep, secretly ran to the door, knocking on the door for help. But both the nurses and staff acted as if they didn't see or hear anything, ignoring him. Here, no one cared about the cries for help of a madman, especially a madman who had been instructed by the higher-ups to be given special care. Therefore, even if Ethan screamed until his throat was hoarse, he wouldn't receive any response. In the end, he collapsed to the ground in despair. His eyes, which were originally clear and bright, were now cloudy, covered with weariness and despair. The weather was cold, his hands and feet quickly turned purple, and the unhealed wounds oozed pus. Hearing footsteps coming from upstairs, his terrified expression, which had just faded, flared up again. "It's here. It's here. The nightmare is here again." Ethan cowered in the corner, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. At the moment when he was most afraid, a shadow fell over him. He raised his head, seeing two familiar faces. He hugged their legs, wailing, "I know I was wrong. Chloe, Olivia, I shouldn't have hurt Mr. Evans. I swear, this will absolutely never happen again. Please, please forgive me. I'll leave this city tomorrow, and I'll never appear in front of you two again. I swear." Seeing Ethan, the two only felt disgusted. Chloe raised her foot, kicking him hard without any mercy. Olivia's eyes looking at him were colder than ice. She took out a key, twirling it in her hand, her voice cold. "Want to leave?" "Sure. Answer me a few questions. As long as you tell the truth, we'll give you the key. If there's even one lie, you can just stay here and live out your old age." Hearing this, a glimmer of hope flashed in Ethan's heart. He hurriedly said, "I'll talk. I'll tell you everything. I only ask that you two spare me. We treated you so well, why did you drive a wedge between us and Alex?" Ethan used his instincts, wanting to lie, but seeing the eyes of the two, wanting to tear him apart, he didn't dare make things up anymore and had to tell the truth. I was just jealous of him. You guys doted on him. I also wanted to be like him, becoming a carefree, rich young master." Olivia clenched her hands, choking with sobs. Closing her eyes, she asked, "You already had everything you wanted, why did you still hurt him time and time again?" "I just didn't have a sense of security. I wanted to prove that in the hearts of you two, I was more important than him. Every time I had to make a choice, seeing you two protect me, those were the happiest moments of my life. I then knew that I was also worthy of being loved." Each word was like a cold arrow, stabbing into the hearts of Chloe and Olivia. The past events that they didn't want to remember became scars that could never be erased in their hearts. Complex emotions swirled in their hearts, making them unable to remain calm. Before leaving, they asked the last question, "During this time, have you ever regretted the things you've done?" Regret. Hearing this word, a hint of confusion flashed in Ethan's eyes. He didn't understand why they had already known the truth and were still asking such a meaningless question. What was the use of regretting? Ethan didn't feel any regret, but under the instinct to survive, he still tried to force out a few tears. "Of course. I really regretted it. I shouldn't have hurt Mr. Evans. Although he didn't treat me as well as you two. He lied this time. Chloe finally saw through Ethan's clumsy lie. She couldn't hold back anymore, raising her fist, pouring all her anger and pain into him, punching him repeatedly. Miserable screams echoed in the long, secluded hallway. Olivia coldly watched without saying a word. Waiting for Chloe to stop, she looked at the man who had been beaten beyond recognition and threw the key into the sewer outside the door. Since you haven't been honest, then you can just stay here and wait to die. Seeing the only path to survival blocked off, Ethan couldn't act anymore. He struggled to get up, his face covered in blood, roaring, "Why? Why do I have to stay here, being tortured, while you get to live a comfortable life? Why do I have to regret it? Clearly, you guys are too stupid. I played you like dogs. No matter how many times I do it, you don't realize it. Ha ha ha. If it wasn't for you indulging me, how could I have heart to hurt him? All the pain I had to endure, you are all just like me, are murderers." The cruel truth was exposed. Olivia and Chloe took a few steps back, gasping for breath. They stared at him, their eyes as if wanting to spit fire, but they couldn't admit this fact. "You used our kindness and gratitude to drive a wedge between us and Alex. If it weren't for you, how could we have misunderstood Alex? You are the sinner. You crazy man. If I had known you were this kind of person, I would never have saved you back then." Since he hadn't known how to repent, he just had to wait for retribution. Reaching this point, Ethan knew that everything was beyond redemption. In his heart, there was no longer any fear. He laughed like a madman. Retribution? I've never believed in retribution. Even if there is retribution, Chloe, Olivia, do you think you can escape? I only have one person. The worst thing is just that I can die. And you, I curse you. For all eternity, may you never have peace. These absurd words fell into the ears of Chloe and Olivia at this time, no different from pouring oil on the fire, rubbing salt into the wound. They couldn't restrain the pain, instructing the staff to take Ethan away, to let him taste all the suffering that Alex had to endure. The man's screams echoed in the air, but the pain of the two women didn't diminish at all. They understood better than anyone else that no matter how much they repented, no matter how they took revenge, Alex couldn't come back. They would never have the opportunity to make amends again. The night swallowed up the haggard figures of the two in the car. In the silence, there was only the sound of gasping for breath. Although they had left the mental hospital, the curse "for all eternity, may you never have peace" still echoed in their ears. Chloe closed her eyes, the hand in her sleeve trembling nonstop. Olivia covered her face, tears streaming down her fingers. The heart-wrenching pain was like a storm, crashing down. People said that time could heal all wounds, but that sentence had no effect on them. Day after day, the memory of me in their chain of painful torment became clearer and clearer. The burned villa was rebuilt. Both of them moved back. The layout of the items in the room was still the same. New roses were planted in the garden. The cat that was taken away was also brought back. Everything seemed unchanged, but everyone knew that everything was different. The boy who used to sit on the porch, brewing tea and reading books, the boy who would run 5 kilometers every morning in the yard, the boy who prepared loving breakfast for his sister and his lover would never return. Because they lost the most important person, the villa, once filled with laughter, gradually fell into silence. Olivia locked herself in the room, not stepping out of the door for a whole month. Chloe drowned herself in alcohol, never being sober for a single day. Occasionally, the two would meet at my grave, only remaining silent without speaking. Spring followed winter. The wild chrysanthemums on the grave withered and bloomed again. On the day of my 25th birthday, the two sat on Nanshan Mountain all day before going down the mountain. On the way back, Chloe asked in a low voice, "I'm going to visit our parents. Are you going?" Olivia choked with sobs, her eyes complicated. In the past, every year, the Evans family would go to the martyrs' cemetery to sweep the tombs, and she would always go with them. But since I died, every time she thought of the cemetery, she felt like she was falling into a nightmare that she couldn't escape. The tattered black coat and the pieces of flesh and blood under the white cloth became a persistent obsession. Therefore, she had never set foot there again. But today, for some reason, she wanted to go there. She nodded, her voice soft, almost inaudible. Today is Alex's birthday. Our parents must want to eat cake too. Looking at the cake with a missing corner, Chloe felt a sharp pain. She swallowed back her pain, driving to the Martyrs' Cemetery. Arriving there, it was already 4:30 in the afternoon. The staff was about to get off work, expressing impatience, muttering, "Coming here to sweep the tombs at this hour, how strange." Hearing Nanshan, the manager expressed sympathy and said nothing more. The two went deep into the cemetery. In the middle of winter, it was getting dark quickly, and the visibility was limited. From a distance, both of them saw someone kneeling before a tomb, paying respects. Although they couldn't see the face clearly, Olivia and Chloe's hearts beat faster. They both felt that this person was very similar to me, the one they missed day and night had appeared. Whether it was real or an illusion, it made them feel emotional, unable to restrain their surging emotions. The two of them sped up their pace. The tall trees obscured their vision. The two walked and ran. When they breathlessly ran to the tomb, that person had disappeared. Only the bouquet of chrysanthemums placed before the tombstone proved that what they had just seen wasn't an illusion. Olivia and Chloe looked at each other and saw the certainty in each other's eyes. Quietly following the side path, they chased all the way to the parking lot, but didn't see anyone. Only one car was parked there. Not wanting to give up, the two ran to knock on the car door. A few seconds later, the car window rolled down, revealing a familiar face. The hope that had just germinated in their hearts faded again. Chloe forced a smile, choking with sobs. "Chief Thompson, why are you here?" After tactfully dismissing the two, Chief Thompson looked at the person sitting in the back seat and sighed. "The operation is over. Although your identity is still kept secret, Chloe is still your sister after all. Don't you really want to meet her, clarify everything?" I shook my head gently, putting on my hat, my voice without any emotion. "I'm already dead. Now, I'm Jiang Chen. Let the old things and the old people drift into the past." Hearing this, Chief Thompson couldn't help but ask, "What exactly happened between you, Chloe, and Olivia that it reached the point where you can't even face each other? For the 2 years you were doing your mission, they thought you were dead and still hadn't gotten over their grief." Jiang Chen knew that Chief Thompson wanted what was best for him, not wanting him to lose his family because of his work. But for me, from 2 years ago, when I was kidnapped and Chloe and Olivia chose to save Ethan, I no longer had a home. My death was both an opportunity to fulfill my dream and a way for me to escape the past, to start my life again. 2 years of living in danger, carrying out missions undercover, left me with no time to think about the past. Now, when I recalled that dark period, I knew that the mission would never cease because of hate. I only had a few vague impressions left, but the pain was still there. No matter what, I wouldn't repeat the same mistake again. "Chief Thompson, the dead can't come back to life. My identity is related to the safety of the entire task force, so it can't be revealed under any circumstances. Before the big picture, I can't let personal feelings affect the mission. Moreover, even if they knew I was still alive, what then? Our work always faces danger. If one day I sacrifice myself like my parents, it would only be more painful for them. It's better to keep it a secret, 100 benefits without a single harm." Chief Thompson understood my words better than anyone. He didn't try to persuade me anymore, handing me the car and house keys. "The task force is over. Your identity hasn't been exposed yet. The higher-ups believe that your identity still has value for exploitation, so they're not calling you back to the force. They've decided to let you continue to operate undercover, waiting for the opportunity. This is the car and house key that the force has allocated to you. Stay there for now and keep in touch with me." Having gotten used to working as an undercover agent on the front lines, I had no objections. Chief Thompson drove me home, gave me a few more instructions, and then left. I took the key, not going home, but to the convenience store to buy living supplies. As I came out, it started to rain. I didn't bring an umbrella and walked along the alley. The alley was empty before, but now there were two people standing there. Jiang Yichen didn't bother to glance at them, walking straight past them. Just as they passed each other, Olivia, with a haggard expression, reached out to grab my shoulder. "Alex." Her voice trembled with tension. "Alex." I raised my head to look at her, frowning uncomfortably. "Who are you?" "Let go. Don't block my way." The unfamiliar tone and cold eyes made Olivia and Chloe tremble, but they didn't want to miss any glimmer of hope and stubbornly refused to let go. "I know it's you, Alex. I'm your sister. Don't you recognize me?" I startled at their agitated expressions, dropping my things and raising my elbow to forcefully shove them. The two were pushed back a few steps. I turned around and ran. Both of them were stunned. Instinctively chasing after me, looking at the face that was far from their memory, the hope that had just flickered in Olivia's heart was completely extinguished. Her eyes became hollow. Chloe also couldn't believe it. Her intuition told her that the person at the cemetery must be me, she couldn't have mistaken it. But the person she found, besides the similar physique, both the face and personality were far from her younger brother. While the two were still dazed, the store owner had called the police. 10 minutes later, the police arrived and took all four of them to the station. With the police present, I wasn't afraid, eloquently recounting the whole story from beginning to end. Today, as soon as I left the convenience store, I was blocked by these two thugs. They kept saying that I was their younger brother and wanted to take me away. I knew right away they weren't good people. Watching my exaggerated acting, Chloe and Olivia became even more disappointed. They didn't want to admit it, but they couldn't help but admit that this person named Jiang Yichen wasn't Alex Evans. Before, no matter how Ethan framed me, I wouldn't be so rude, uneducated, and shout so loudly. I didn't know what they were thinking. After speaking, I slammed my hand on the table. "That's how it is. Officer, there's my statement, there's the surveillance camera. You must uphold justice for me." The police recorded everything and turned to ask Chloe and Olivia, "How do you two explain?" "We were sweeping the tombs and saw him worshipping. We thought he was an acquaintance, so we chased after him to ask about it. It was just a misunderstanding." Hearing this, I became even more angry, glaring at them. "Misunderstanding? It's ridiculous. I don't know these two people at all. You two just kept calling me younger brother, younger brother. You can't even recognize your own blood-related younger brother, are you blind? It must be my bad luck from 8 lifetimes to be your younger brother." These offensive words made the two angry. They stood up at the same time, clenching their fists. "Watch how you speak. Alex isn't the kind of hooligan that you can compare to." Just as the two sides were about to argue, Chief Thompson arrived to explain that it was all just a misunderstanding. Seeing this, the police didn't bother to intervene and waved his hand for everyone to leave. Chief Thompson took the three of us out of the police station. I was still muttering, "Why did you let it go?" It was clear that those two women were harassing me. "You should have arrested them." Chief Thompson looked at me with a helpless expression. "Forgiving others is also forgiving yourself. We've already made it clear that it was a misunderstanding, so let it go. It's late, go home quickly." After speaking, he called a taxi and stuffed me inside. Watching the car disappear, Chief Thompson turned to Chloe and Olivia, smiling wryly. "Don't be angry with that kid." Seeing that the closest friend of his parents, someone who had always cared about him since he was young, was siding with someone who talked nonsense like that, Chloe felt a little uncomfortable. "Chief Thompson, who exactly is this person? Why did you take him to my parents' grave to sweep the tombs?" On the way to the police station, Chief Thompson had already thought about this question and had prepared an explanation. "Jiang Yichen's family used to be fishermen. Before they sacrificed themselves, your parents saved Yichen's father. He has always remembered their gratitude. So, every year he comes to sweep the tombs. 2 years ago, his father had a cerebral hemorrhage. Before he died, he was still talking about this matter. Ichen promised to come to sweep the tombs every year. Today, he came just in time when I was there, so I took him there. The reasonable explanation sounded very credible, but for some reason, both of them still felt that something was wrong, but they didn't know where the wrongness was. Slightly frowning, Chief Thompson didn't want them to dig deeper, so he explained again, although that boy Ichen is a bit crude, his heart isn't bad. He had a difficult time with his studies. From a young age, he lived with his grandmother. In recent years, his parents have also passed away one after another. It's really pitiful. For my sake, please be magnanimous and forgive him. Hearing this, the two remembered my long-suffering fate, and the anger in their hearts subsided, silently nodding. Chief Thompson knew who they were thinking about, sighing and patting their shoulders. It's been 2 years since Alex passed away. Those who are living must know how to look forward. Don't be too sad. He's in heaven, with your parents taking care of him. He probably doesn't want you two to keep feeling guilty. It was clearly a comforting word, but it made Olivia and Chloe's hearts feel even heavier. They raised their heads to look at the dark night sky, without a single star. Their eyes were complicated. If the dead really had souls, would my parents be extremely disappointed when they saw them hurting me time and time again? Would I, who had died miserably in despair, ever forgive them? The heartache and pain, like a tide, crashed down, completely submerging the two of them. They didn't know what to say, only silently turning to get into the car. All the way back, it was silent. Arriving at the villa, looking at the dark rooms, the two were both stunned. If Alex was still alive, seeing them come back, he would definitely run to the balcony, smiling to welcome them. Today was his birthday, but he didn't even get to eat a piece of cake. All night, Olivia couldn't sleep. The image of that person in the cemetery kept lingering in her mind, making her restless and uneasy. Was that person really not Alex? Jiang Yichen? Jiang Yichen. She murmured that name until dawn, and finally couldn't hold back anymore, texting the secretary. As dawn gradually broke, she went downstairs, wanting to get some fresh air. Just as she went out the door, she saw Chloe standing in the corner. The two with dark circles under their eyes, they looked at each other, and Chloe blurted out, "Where are you going?" Olivia was stunned, not even knowing where she wanted to go, only instinctively wanting to escape this house full of memories. "I don't know, just going to get some fresh air." After speaking, Olivia drove out, aimlessly wandering along the road. Her mind was a mess, not knowing what she was thinking. When she came to her senses, she realized that she had come to the alley from yesterday again. This was an old residential area with many small stores around. The breakfast stalls had opened early, with steam rising from the steamers. Through the hazy mist, Olivia saw me wearing a hat, leisurely walking downstairs, throwing the trash into the trash can, buying a cage of steamed buns, and then turning back. The entire process didn't take more than 10 minutes, but Olivia stood there in a daze. Waiting for me to disappear, as if possessed, she got out of the car and followed. Passing the trash can, she glanced at it and was about to leave. Just as she had taken 5 steps, her tired brain suddenly activated again. She turned back and saw a candle revealed from the trash bag. Her eyes immediately stopped. Yesterday, at the police station, when checking the identification, she had seen Jiang Yichen's ID card. 23 years old, home address was a small fishing village, birthday was June 19th. Chief Thompson said he was an orphan, so why would he buy a birthday cake? In that moment, Olivia felt as if she had grasped a clue. She hurriedly ran to follow me. Reaching the 4th floor, just as she was about to knock on the door, the little girl next door came out, smiling brightly to greet me. I also smiled in response. "Nana, thank you for the birthday cake yesterday. It was delicious." A single sentence shattered the speculation that had just sprouted in Olivia's heart. She smiled bitterly, turning to go downstairs. She didn't hear the little girl's cheerful reply, "Your cake was also delicious. We share a birthday, that's so coincidental." Let's celebrate together in the future. I bent down, patted the little girl's head, said a few more words, and then went home. As soon as the door closed, I shed my disguise, breathing a sigh of relief. The delicious steamed buns filled my empty stomach. I stretched, yawning on the sofa, remembering the lovable appearance of the old lady when she introduced me to the steamed buns. I couldn't help but smile. Yesterday, after leaving the police station, I stopped by a bakery to buy a birthday cake, only to meet Nana, the little girl next door, who was also celebrating her birthday. The playful little girl blinked her eyes, asking me if today was my birthday. After being confirmed, she insisted on celebrating together. I couldn't refuse the enthusiastic invitation of the neighboring family, so I had to agree. After just one night, the little girl had become very attached to me. Knowing that I had just moved in, she also introduced me to many delicious foods nearby. After a long time of being in contact with cunning criminals, returning to a normal life, meeting such kind neighbors, I was really happy. No matter what the future held, at least at this moment, I had obtained the peaceful life that I had always longed for. That was enough. I bought a lot of household supplies, cleaning the house spotlessly. Because of my special identity, I rarely went out. If I did go out, I would conceal myself carefully. But no matter how careful I was, I still discovered that I was being followed, and the people following me were, again, Chloe and Olivia. After the meeting at the cemetery, I didn't expect that they would find me. In order to avoid suspicion, I made a scene at the police station. Afterwards, Chief Thompson contacted me, saying that they definitely wouldn't suspect anything anymore. But in these past few days, I had continuously seen the luxury car that didn't fit in with this old residential area parked in front of my window. Occasionally, when I went out to buy water, I also felt their scrutinizing eyes. Having been undercover for 2 years, in order to conceal my identity, I had learned how to be a hooligan. I believed that Olivia and Chloe wouldn't recognize me. Seeing this situation, I was certain that they had discovered something, which was why they frequently appeared near me. In order to ensure safety, after thinking carefully, I called Chief Thompson. The two of us discussed a plan, and then I felt at ease. In the following days, I always stayed at home. January 18th was the anniversary of the death of my adoptive father, Jeong Duchwon. I woke up early to return to my hometown to sweep his tomb. Just as I finished worshipping, I was blocked by several thugs. Damn it. Last time you cheated me out of $3,000 and ran away. I thought you wouldn't dare come back. Jeong Yi-chen, you're really brave. The thugs surrounded me. I glanced at them, casually picking up a wooden stick from the ground, smiling. Cheated? Isn't it just that you lost to me? It's just $3,000. You, Boss Zhao, are raising so many people and can't even pay that amount of money? Being humiliated in front of his subordinates, Zhao was angry and didn't want to talk nonsense with me anymore. Raising his hand, he was about to discipline me, but the stick had barely been lifted when it was stopped by a voice. The group of people turned their heads to see 2 elegantly dressed women looking at them coldly. You men, bullying one person, aren't you ashamed? Zhao snorted coldly, looking at the 2 with a fierce expression. Who are you? Get lost quickly. Otherwise, I'll hit you too. Ordering his thugs, he charged to the 2 women, who had no weapons in hand. Taking advantage of the chaos, I ran away without hesitation. The 2 groups of people fought fiercely. 5 minutes later, one of the subordinates looked around and slapped his thigh, shouting, "It's bad. Boss, that brat ran away." The group immediately ignored the 2 women, rushing to chase after me. The 2 women, who had been tense, finally relaxed, looking at the injuries on each other's faces. Chloe and Olivia were stunned for a moment before realizing that I had taken advantage of their fight to run away. Both of their faces darkened. In these past few days, they still couldn't forget what had happened at the cemetery. Reason told them that Jeong Yi-chen wasn't Alex, but their subconscious still urged them to follow me. I rarely went out, but just seeing that room that was always closed with the curtains drawn, their hearts, which had been tortured for 2 years, were comforted somewhat. They weren't looking for evidence to prove that Jiang Yichen was Alex, but to reassure themselves. Driving back to the old apartment complex, seeing the lights on in the room, the two finally breathed a sigh of relief. Chloe opened the car window, lighting a cigarette. Olivia held the crumpled document, reading it intently. This was the information that the secretary had collected about Jiang Yichen. It was clearly the life of a stranger, but she had read it countless times, knowing it by heart. She didn't even know why she cared about such a mediocre person. She couldn't find any points that resembled Alex on him, but just seeing those lines of text, the image that appeared in her mind was me as a child. This strange situation made her think that she was hallucinating many times, but when she heard Chloe say that she also frequently entered that state, Olivia knew that it wasn't an illusion. The two of them had gone to see a psychologist. The doctor diagnosed them with severe depression and gave them a method of treatment. The two of you were probably stimulated by Mr. Evans' death, and then you didn't receive timely psychological treatment, so the illness became more and more serious. At this time, the two of you met a person with a similar appearance to him in the place where he had an accident, so in the midst of extreme longing, your subconscious has regarded Mr. Jiang as the shadow of Mr. Evans, and from that, dependence has arisen. Although the dead cannot come back to life, for the sake of your health, I advise you to have more contact with Mr. Jiang. His existence is beneficial for treating your illness. It can help the two of you escape the shadow of the accident and start a normal life. Recalling the doctor's advice and what had happened today, Olivia emotionally looked at Chloe. Chloe, if Jiang Yichen is beneficial to our treatment, why don't we take him home to live with us? Maybe this is God's will to let us meet him. Although he isn't Alex, his fate is also very pitiful. Let's just consider it as accumulating merit for Alex. Chloe also had this idea, nodding gently. Although he has some problems, his nature isn't bad. Our parents saved his father, we should also help him, so that he doesn't go astray, living up to our parents' expectations. The two discussed further for a while, and then went upstairs together to knock on the door. They knocked on the door for half an hour, but there was still no movement inside. Finally, the little girl next door couldn't stand it anymore and cursed a few times before I cracked the door open, peeking out with a wary expression. Are you two not done yet? Get lost quickly. Otherwise, I'm calling the police. Just hearing me speak, Chloe became angry again. Olivia hurriedly pulled her back, patiently saying, We want to talk to you today. I glared at them, my face full of discomfort. Talk? What's there to talk about? Are you two stalking me? In that case, let's go to the police station and talk. See if you can escape this time. Saying so, I prepared to close the door. Seeing that I was about to close the door, Olivia quickly used her hand to block it. Without hesitation, I slammed the door shut, and her hand immediately turned blue and swollen. Seeing that she was injured, Chloe couldn't help but scold, Jiang Yichen, we saved you. Don't be ungrateful. Who told you to save me? Wasn't it your own choice to be a busybody? And now you want to use this to threaten me? No way. Seeing that the two were about to argue again, Olivia, enduring the pain, cut in, We didn't come here to argue. We just want to discuss something with you. If you don't give us this opportunity, those thugs from the other day might come looking for you tomorrow. Hearing this, my expression gradually changed. I stared at them, almost grinding my teeth. What is it? Say it quickly. Knowing that I had agreed, Olivia wiped the sweat from her brow and slowly released her hand, her voice a little weak. It's not convenient here. Let's go to a tea house. In the quiet tea house, hearing their request, I feigned ignorance. Hire me to treat your illnesses? I haven't even graduated high school. Are you too crazy? Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? What am I gonna do, give you cough syrup? We don't need you to do anything. We just need you to move into the villa and live with us. As soon as Chloe finished speaking, the suspicion on my face deepened. Are you two treating me like a 3-year-old kid? Want me to believe that this kind of good thing will fall into my lap? Are you crazy? Olivia took a deep breath, handing me a business card, intending to prove her identity. I didn't bother to look, throwing it straight into the trash. I can make one of these too. Chloe immediately pulled out a bank card, saying succinctly, "There are 8 million in this card." I picked it up, weighed it, and then snapped it in half, smiling faintly. Want to use me to launder money? I'm not stupid. Next, the two made countless offers, all of which I rejected. Chloe lost all patience, frowning. What exactly do you want to believe us? I took a sip of tea, crossed my legs, and pointed to the tallest skyscraper in the city outside the window. By that building. I'll consider it. A few days later, when the two brought the ownership papers, I still didn't care, making a new request. I heard that the Yunin temple is very effective. I haven't been sleeping well lately. Go pray for a peace charm for me. Remember to be sincere. That afternoon, videos of Olivia and Chloe kneeling and crawling up the mountain to pray for blessings spread throughout the internet. Seeing the two with bloodied heads in the videos, my eyes flickered slightly. The memories buried deep in my mind came flooding back, the grievances of being framed, the despair of being abandoned time and time again, tears and blood constantly flowing. All of it appeared clearly before me. I hugged my numb heart, gasping for breath to soothe the discomfort in my body. I didn't understand why, after I had made such unreasonable requests, they still didn't give up, just because I slightly resembled her younger brother? Such a ridiculous reason. If they cared so much, why didn't they know how to cherish him when he was alive? He'd been dead for so long, and they still wanted to seek comfort from a stranger? It was ridiculous. Therefore, when they brought the peace charm that they had painstakingly prayed for, I still wasn't moved. It's a good thing, but it's stained with blood. It's not lucky. Forget it, I don't need it anymore. Take it back. I threw the charm at them, turning to leave. Chloe angrily grabbed my arm. Why do you keep testing our sincerity? What exactly do you want to be satisfied with? I stopped, turning to look at her from head to toe. I'm not satisfied with you two. Can't you see? It's rare for me to hate someone as much as I hate you two the moment I meet them. These words clearly came from Jiang Yichen's mouth, but for some reason, Olivia and Chloe felt that the person standing before them was Alex Evans. In that moment, the regret and pain came flooding back, tormenting them. Both of their faces turned pale. Releasing my arm, I didn't bother to pay attention to them, turning to leave. Night fell, enveloping the entire world in darkness. They involuntarily fell into the abyss. I thought that after saying those sharp words, these two arrogant women wouldn't come to bother me anymore, but things went far beyond my expectations. Before, I would only occasionally see their figures, but now, they bought the apartment next door and moved in. I really didn't understand what they were thinking, but I wouldn't compromise. Because of these crazy actions, although Task Force Daybreak had ended and I was withdrawn, beneath the peaceful exterior were hidden undercurrents. Maybe next month, tomorrow, or even the next second, I would be mobilized by the organization again. I was prepared to continue fighting. Therefore, in front of everyone, I still played the role of a boastful thug. Towards Chloe and Olivia, I always maintained a cold attitude. No matter how much I ridiculed them, they wouldn't give up, constantly trying to please me. I acted as if I didn't see anything. The gifts they gave me were either thrown away or given to others. They said they wanted to find a job for me. I said I didn't want to work. They invited me on a trip. I closed the door and didn't bother to reply. As time passed, I gradually adapted to the current life, and also noticed the changes in Chloe and Olivia. They seemed to be addicted to the feeling of being rejected. The more they were rejected, the more determined they became. The look in their eyes as they looked at me also became increasingly strange. Occasionally, I would even hear them absent-mindedly calling my name, Alex. It had been a long time since I had heard anyone call me that. I also froze for a second, and then quickly regained my composure. After stabilizing my mood, I rarely turned back, taking the initiative to say to Chloe, who had just called my name, "I'm not some Alex or whatever. If you're sick, go see a doctor. Don't come here and make trouble." After speaking, I slammed the door and left the house. As I turned around, due to the excessive force, the necklace hidden in my collar fell out. Seeing the pendant, Chloe's expression immediately changed. If she didn't see it wrong, the stone on the pendant was exactly the same as the one on the watch that my parents had left behind, the thing that I had always treasured. After the accident, Chloe had searched everywhere, all along the highway and inside the house, but couldn't find that watch. Why would Jiang Yichen have one that was exactly the same? In that moment, the thought that she had rejected countless times, Jiang Yichen is Alex Evans, appeared in her mind again. This time, her intuition was stronger than ever before. She hurriedly chased after me, wanting to find evidence. But the night was too dark, and Chloe couldn't find my figure. The disappointment was overwhelmed by excitement. Clenching her fists, she turned back to the 4th floor, intending to report the good news to Olivia. Seeing me disappear, I got up from the crowded diner and got into the car parked on the side of the road. After the car door closed, I reported the recent situation to Chief Thompson, emphasizing that Olivia and Chloe might have become suspicious. After listening, he nodded, his eyes deep. "I know. I'll handle this matter. Don't worry." I breathed a sigh of relief. "The operation will begin tonight?" Chief Thompson handed me a file, saying in a low voice, "Operation Aurora begins at 10 o'clock tonight. Your identity is still Jiang Yichen. Codename has been changed to Netherwind." The next morning, Olivia and Chloe were awakened by the noise in the hallway. Calming down, the two quickly got up from the sofa, ran to the door. Just as they opened the door, they saw a group of people moving things out of the apartment next door. Both were stunned, hurriedly stopping them. "What are you all doing? He's not home. What are you relying on to touch his things?" The landlord glanced at them, rolling his eyes. "He only rented for 2 months, and now he's moving out. I'm cleaning up so I can rent it to someone else." This news was like a bolt out of the blue. They didn't expect that, after just one night, I had disappeared from their sight. The two had stayed up all night because of that speculation. Unable to accept this fact, they tried everything to inquire about my whereabouts, but neither the landlord nor the neighbors knew anything. Jiang Yichen's name wasn't on the list of passengers entering or leaving the city. He was like a drop of water falling into the sea, disappearing without a trace. They were only one step away from getting closer to the truth, but the only person who could give them hope had disappeared. This result was a heavy blow to Olivia and Chloe. The two returned to the state they were in when I had just died, living aimlessly, without any energy. In their pain, despair, and loss of hope, they could only tell themselves that Jiang Yichen was me. It was just that I didn't want them to find out, so I left. In order to maintain the last bit of reason, but this spiritual support was also gradually weakening with time. The two searched the entire city but still couldn't find me. They were only left with the option to lock themselves in the small apartment that they had bought, waiting for me to return in vain. Day after day, the living room was filled with wine bottles and cigarette butts. Waking up in a drunken stupor, looking at the empty room, Olivia had a splitting headache. The wine on the table was all gone, and her throat was parched. Going into the bathroom, just as she was about to turn on the faucet, a strand of hair in the corner of the wall suddenly attracted her attention. Picking it up to examine it, her dazed mind suddenly became clear. She woke up Chloe, who was still fast asleep. The two hurriedly went to the hospital, heading straight for the genetics department. The waiting time was long and arduous. Each second, each minute became torturous. In a moment of extreme excitement, Chloe even contacted the person who might know my whereabouts, Chief Thompson. Getting off work, Chief Thompson received the message. Arriving at the hospital, the test results had just come out. On it was stamped, "Confirmed, no blood relation." Seeing these words, the last thread in the hearts of Olivia and Chloe snapped. Tears welled up, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. The two seemed to go crazy, tearing the paper to shreds. Seeing the scraps fall down like snow, a trace of pity flashed across Chief Thompson's eyes. On the night I left, he had people clean that apartment. This strand of hair was intentionally left behind by me, just to cut off the last bit of doubt in their hearts. Although this result was too painful for them, for the mission, all sacrifices were worth it. The sadness quickly passed, and he returned to being a rational and calm chief. Walking up to them, he explained the truth. Chloe, Olivia,